Right, and, but Manish, what's India's stand now? Because post the 26/11 attacks, India made a series of demands for the dismantling of terrorist infrastructure. Clearly, that hasn't happened. The nature of these attacks suggests that terrorist groups continue to roam free in Pakistan, within Pakistan, attacking a very high security installation and a high security convoy, like the convoy of the Sri Lankan cricket team in broad daylight. Is this now, I mean, is the government again going to forcefully make the case for Pakistan to take serious steps to tackle its terrorist infrastructure?
Well, I think what's been happening in Pakistan can make you logically conclude that the Pakistani state, is either unwilling or in certain instances, for example, where export of terror is concerned, complicit. I think the international community will have to sit up and seriously deliberate upon the situation. After all, Pakistan is a nuclear weapon state, and if the security situation in Pakistan continues to deteriorate in this manner, elements in Pakistan are complicit in exporting terror, then I think you would possibly have to look at other avenues of dismantling the infrastructure of terror. The situation is really worrying.
Be a little, Manish, if I could just ask you to, I mean, of course, it's important that the international community as a whole steps in, but to specifically ask you about India's response to this, because there's a lot of outrage in India watching these attacks. The targets may not have ostensibly been Indians or India, but it's, again, the thin end of the wedge. What is India going to do? You said recourse to other means to dismantle terrorist infrastructure. Can you elaborate? Will India make a forceful, fresh intervention? Again,
well, I think that's a call which the
Pakistan to take steps.
India will have to take. The Ministry of External Affairs, in conjunction with the Home Ministry, would have to take. I don't think I would like to second guess them. But let me make a broad point and say that the manner in which we were able to rally the international community after 26/11 and get Pakistan to acknowledge for the first time in the last 30 years, ever since they have been implementing the policy of bleeding India with 1,000 cuts, that their soil is in fact the home ground of all these terrorists. You will again have to re-energize the international community and see that the pressure on Pakistan continues and continues in a sustained manner.
Right, Manish Tiwari, thanks very much indeed. The pressure on Pakistan to continue in a sustained manner. I'm joined now by Sonali Chandar, our sports editor. She joins me from New Delhi. Sonali, obviously an appalling moment for the world of cricket, more than anything else.
Absolutely, Srinivasan. I mean, I think there's a huge sense of relief right now, especially after we spoke with Kumar Sangakkara, who, initial reports had said had sustained a bullet injury. So a huge sense of relief to hear him say that there are only minor shrapnel injuries to almost the entire team, and that the two players, including Tilant Samaravira, who in fact just got a double century yesterday in that match that was going on in the Lahore Test match, all of them are absolutely safe, out of danger, no major injuries. So that's a huge sense of relief to know that everybody is fine. But Vasu, I think what this really does now is open up a can of worms, so to speak, as to what will happen to the fate of cricket in Pakistan, already sort of in dire straits in the last year and a half, and indeed to the 2011 World Cup, which India, Pakistan, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka were meant to be co-hosting in 2011. And everybody seems to be saying right now that the future of that tournament, with all these 4 subcontinental countries being the co-host, is certainly in grave danger, Vasu.
Sonali, just hold on to that thought, because I do want to come back to those points you raised, both about the Sri Lankan team as well as about the future of hosting, or the subcontinent's ability to now host these very important tournaments going forward, and particularly Pakistan's ability to host or co-host any of those tournaments. In just a second, I want to come back to you, but Prakash Javadekar, spokesperson of the BJP, joins us on the phone line. Mr. Javadekar, what is your party's reaction to what has happened this morning in Pakistan?
We condemn this dastardly act, and it is fortunate that the Sri Lankan players are safe, but at the same time this shows and exposes Pakistan that Pakistan is the epicenter of terror, and the government policy and agencies which train these militants have now turned and are doing havoc all over. So this means that Pakistan will have to walk the talk and really dismantle the terror structure. Unless that is done, this will always be trouble for India, for Pakistan, and for the whole subcontinent.
Right. So your stand in that sense not that different from the government. Thank you very much indeed, Prakash Javadekar, for that. Sonali, just to come back to you now, the questions that are now coming up about the, you mentioned obviously the World Cup. Is that, you believe, a question that will largely have to be tackled by Pakistan, or do you believe that there is going to be a spillover effect on the subcontinent as a whole?
Vasu, realistically, one could look at it and say that, that India could go on to host that 2011 World Cup without there being any matches, say perhaps in Pakistan and Bangladesh, which of course has had its own recent troubles. Sri Lanka always been seen by the international cricketing community as a volatile place where there have been past incidents. So it's not an issue that is not going to affect India, because the theme that was always there over these last few years through all the terror attacks, whether they happened in India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, the theme was always that cricketers will never be attacked. In fact, Imran Khan always said that. He said that right, 2 months ago when India cancelled their tour of Pakistan, saying, why does this have to be linked to cricket? Because the terrorists would never attack cricketers. So clearly that is one sentiment which has changed altogether now with this attack, because even a few years ago, when you had the New Zealand cricket team that was caught in an attack at the Marriott Hotel, it was their bus that just happened to be over there. There was no evidence that they were directly targeted. So that has completely changed the dynamics of it altogether, because every former cricketer, every cricket administrator kept saying there is no reason that cricketers will be targeted. So that has clearly changed the situation. You can always argue and say that the situation for India is different from that of Pakistan and Sri Lanka. They could go on to host the World Cup by themselves, because the ICC had already said 2 weeks ago that Pakistan is still a co-host, but we need to have some backup venues for them. But it's going to be hard for India to sort of say that none of these problems will have any spillover to India as well, because we've had our own problems with Mumbai and 26/11.
That's true. We have had those problems. Sri Lanka has had its own share of problems, but somehow Pakistan has always been seen, for fairly obvious reasons, as being far more fragile. But Sonali, before we actually come to what the